Welcome back. You're watching CEOs Personally Liable. Has India Inc. woken up to the act? Presented by CNBC TV 18 and AVAGMAH. Ms. Bali, your opinion on this as to why, what does this act mean for corporate India, and about what more can be done so that corporate India does implement this act and put it into place?
So I'm saying 2 or 3 things. One is CEO and the board have to drive it. Secondly, this has to be audited with the same seriousness as we would audit a change in, accounting standards or in tax laws or anything like that. Thirdly, not just within the company, but the larger ecosystem, the processes have to be created and, not be floating boxes, but hardwired into how, if an event were to occur, what are the steps, who's going to take them, who's responsible, and finally, where does the onus, accountability and responsibility lie? That entire ecosystem is what we must create and which good companies will create to ensure that the intention is actually achieved.
Gaurang, what do you think can be done so that this act is implemented better?
I'm glad that Ms. Bali as well as Karthik are really pointing out the responsibility and liability of the CEOs. But unfortunately, what has happened here is that the Act doesn't really provide for any kind of stringent action against the employer. And the only thing which is going to happen is once the Internal Complaints Committee has found that the person is guilty against whom there's a complaint, the only thing which can happen is he can be fined or he can be removed, and if it's a government employee, then the CCA's conduct rules will govern that. But the difficulty here is, and I'm glad that Ms. Bali and Karthik are really trying to make it more in the sense like the CEO should take up the responsibility and make people aware of this, and the awareness is really provided under the Act also, that what all positive affirmative steps need to be taken by the companies to make people more aware. But then the vicarious liability in terms of the employer being in any way punished or in any way responsible for any of the action of the employee is absent from the Act, which you can actually find in many other countries where the employers are also responsible for the conduct of the employee, and there's a certain sort of a punishment or a fine or something of that sort which can be imposed upon the employer too. So I guess there are mechanisms in the Act, but I still feel the employer should be held more responsible for the actions.
Neera, you had a comment.
Yes, the Companies Act ensures also in another way that there will be one woman on the board of each company. That would make a substantial difference once that is positioned, and that is taking place now, and the India corporations are very, very serious about that. But also, my other worry is in a different direction. In various quarters I have heard, now that the Act is so stringent and people who are aware of that, it is better not to take women. Already, as you know, that the ILO report has shown that compared to 1991, the number of working women in India, and I'm talking of both the organized and the unorganized sector, has gone down from 33% to 26-27%. We have the dubious distinction in India that the working women force has gone down, working women in participation in workforce. Now, that is something where the audit really should take place. Vinita talked about audit definitely about the processes, but audit also to ensure that they don't get liable at any stage or they do not have problems. The composition of workforce of women should not decrease in any company, and that is what the government, in case it really wants to do it in spirit, not only in in spirit, they really have to ensure that.
Okay, that's an important point. Karthik, I want to come to you about, we are talking about the Act. Now, I believe AVAGMAH has come up with some kind of a toolkit which makes it easier for corporations to implement the provisions of the Act. Tell us a little bit about that.
What AVAGMAH has been doing is it's the fastest growing online education company in India, helping corporates build their leadership pipeline, and they use technology to propagate this education through the mobile phone, through the laptop, through the desktop, etc. So the whole point is, instead of sending the employee to an academic sabbatical, they can go and do the course, continue working, do the course, even when they are driving from their home or sitting in the bus from home to office. Now, most of the time, and in a situation like this, where the Act is there, you need to train the employees. They are all geographically dispersed. How do you bring them all together and train them? It's impossible. And you need to sensitize them, which means you need to continuously train them. It's not possible for them to bring them to a depot or a branch office quite often. So that's when AVAGMAH went back to the drawing board and said, why not create a course and which can be piped through the mobile, which is quite frequently used by all employees today, and available through the desktop. And sitting at the head office, the corporate HR can, at a click, find out how many people have done it and not done it, etc. We have created a toolkit in addition to providing the education for corporates, where they can use this to empower their internal complaints committee, understand what is done. We train the internal complaints committee all through the online internet connection through itself.
On that note, it's time for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.